So this morning I'm delighted to be with Jack Jiggins, who's the co-host of the Commercial Property Summit and also Exp Property Investments. With Alex Hurn from Sillence Hurn. So Sillence Hurn is Alex and David who've come together and to create Sillence Hurn. So project monitoring, quantity surveying, and delighted to have Luke Masters as well, NED, non-executive director for Sillence Hurn. Jack, rather than me ramble on too much, I'll just briefly introduce or let Alex introduce himself and the company, and then we'll move over to some of the questions. So, Alex, in terms of the company history and why you created Sillence Hurn, just a little bit about the company.
Thanks, Brendan. So myself and David, we both came from the same private practice, who were actually based in New Forest, Hampshire. We're both traditionally qualified building surveyors. So we have a background mostly in commercial building surveying work, i.e. party wall, dilapidations, purchase surveys and contract administration. Over my career, I've spanned more into project work, so project management and project monitoring roles, which is probably the majority of the work that I head up now, where David remains more on the professional side, so providing the professional services and the surveys. So it's quite a good balance for us. We've got both sides of both aspects of the coin, if you like. So yeah, it works reasonably well.
And Jack, you've known Alex for quite a while. I think from university, in fact, if I remember rightly. How do you come into this, Luke? I know you're non-executive director. Just a little bit about yourself as well, because I know you're going to be on the panel at the Commercial Property Summit on the 7th of March, Saturday, 7th of March, which is focused on trends and what's hot at the moment, what's hot going into 2021, whether we're looking at office, retail, or more than that. So just a little bit about yourself, Luke.
Yeah, I mean, cheers for that. I've come from I've done sort of full circle, to be honest with you. So I started off years ago working in property. I went all the way through to doing my own projects and sites. Carried on doing that and have come sort of full circle back into the sort of the monitoring and helping other people essentially in more of a professional capacity. So really speaking, I sort of went through the journey myself, experienced all of the painful, not so nice things, and hopefully I can use that to help other people to take shortcuts and not make the same mistakes.
And Jack, I know you had some key questions to fire away with Alex and Luke, so let's get started on that particular question. And I haven't even introduced Exp Property Investments, which is a little bit unfair for me to do so. So before you go into the question, can you just tell the listeners about Exp Property Investments in 1 minute or less?
Thanks, Brendan, and thanks for the time limit. Morning, Jack. So Exp Property is an SME property development company from southwest London across to the home counties, and we do residential, commercial, mixed use. And my position in the organisation is land acquisitions, structuring and funding, and my business partner Ben Richards heads up the design and delivery. So that was under a minute, Brendan. We did well there.
We did.
So moving on to more on Sillence Hurn, who are taking a big part on the commercial summit on the 7th of March. We're hugely privileged to have the guys there. And that I believe the full team is coming in full force. So we've had a bit of a background from Luke and Alex. Could you, evidently we know that the commercial summit is predominantly commercial based. Could we have a bit of an example of the projects that you're currently working on, whether that's contract admin or PMing or QSing, so that the listeners can get a feel of what sort of projects you're working on?
Yeah, sure. We are currently acting as project manager for a conversion of a listed office building into 7 units in Reading, which I suppose is residential end product, but it's a commercial property in its existence, so that's got a commercial spin to it. A lot of our other projects are such as we're acting for someone who's just bought a car garage and they're converting it into a convenience store. And then splitting some of the land out to build a residential unit next door as well, which is quite an interesting site. Yesterday I was up at Denham Airfield, of all places, looking at a new 75,000 square foot industrial shed, which is looking to be a new build project as well. So it is a real vast broad spectrum of products that we work on. So yeah.
Interesting. So evidently that first project in Reading, you've got listed building consent planning, you've got building control, you've got building regs, you've got engineers that you need to liaise with. That's probably a pretty involved project.
Yeah, so our client actually brought it with planning. So we managed to avoid the painful aspect of the project, but obviously that comes, because Reading Borough Council, that came with a BREEAM condition, which, as you know, Jack, firsthand, it's that can add a bit of money to the project and a bit of time. So we're currently through the design stage on that, and we are on site. We're through our second contractor on that one as well. Due to the first one not delivering and their contract had to be terminated. So this project hasn't been straightforward, and there's also obviously a lender involved, so we're having to liaise with the lender's monitoring surveyor. So there's a whole host of challenges there that really is our role as project manager to sort of bring it together.
Yeah, I think that tails quite nicely into my next question. So you've gone through two contractors there, and this particular individual, I don't know if they're an investor, developer, or what their relationship is with this type of project, but if they didn't have an experienced team on board, they may not have known how to fold up that existing contractor and move on before it gets into a place where it's gone too far to return in terms of time and cost. So why would a developer or an investor come to Sillence Hurn, and at what point and what services could you offer someone like that?
So that leads on quite nicely to bringing Luke in, actually, because obviously Luke's role and history is more around, obviously he was a commercial agent, and he worked development side, so he has first-hand development experience. So Luke's come on board to provide that sort of initial sort of appraisal experience. So where we are doing the initial development appraisal for the build costs and the development costs, Luke can then assist with the back end and also the front end of sort of managing the acquisition stage for them, helping them with that, and also then helping and assisting with the build and cost, sales costs at the end. So obviously we're also almost advertising ourselves as a turnkey project management solution for developers. So we can come in at development appraisal stage, help them run that stage, and then also obviously my background is running the build and the development itself.
Awesome. Did you want to add anything else to that, Luke?
Yeah, I was just going to add to it. I mean, that's really how mine and Alex's relationship started. Initially, was I could do the front end fine. In fact, quite well. The back end isn't really a problem, so long as you follow some relatively simple structure process and just do the same things, and just consistently review your own stuff. But the middle part, that project management, was the part that, one, I didn't have the expertise in, and two, I wasn't that good. So the reason me and Alex actually came into contact was I basically, between me and everybody that's going to watch this, lost quite a lot of money on a project. And if I hadn't had Alex, I would have lost even more. So it was front end, back end, and it was exactly that. It was a builder. I wasn't sure how I was basically going to get rid of them. And I had to get Alex involved to sort it out. And ever since then, me at the front and at the back, and Alex dealing with the stuff in the middle has always worked seamlessly. But until I went through that painful experience, I didn't really appreciate how much easier it was. In all honesty,
easier, Luke, and also saves you time, not just finances, but saving you significant time by having Alex on board.
Yeah. Cash is in cash, and time is in cash as well. Saves you all of it.
And allows you to move on to the next deals as well. Sorry,
it allows
Luke.
me to do the front end. Yeah. It allows me to do the front end. It allows me to go on and do the front end of the next project while covering the back end of the last project, and it allows me to dovetail everything rather than being swamped in things that are unnecessary.
Sorry, Jack, I don't want to jump in too much.
No problem, Brendan. No problem. I actually see a lot of developers trying to save costs, save time at the beginning, and in pretty much 95% of eventualities, it ends up being more costly, and they have to bring someone in at a later date, like Sillence Hurn. So it's good to have them from the outset to sort of shake out all the gremlins, as it were. So on the day, Sillence Hurn are going to be adding advice on how you can go about engaging with particular services like their own. But what are you guys specifically going to be talking about? I know Luke's on the panel with strategies that I'm hosting, but I believe that they're going to be interacting throughout the day. And what are we going to be sharing with people that attend on the day? We'll start with Alex.
So I think that I know the agenda is ever changing, Brendan, but I think that I have currently got a small slot to speak about sort of the common pitfalls and opportunities from a project manager's aspect. I know Brendan's keen to get some monitoring case studies in there as well. So I will be providing sort of 5 or 6 really quick fire case studies on projects where we've had significant influence or provided significant experience in relation to projects, i.e. we've just discussed, in whether that's managing the build, or if that's providing a nugget of advice in the development appraisal, or if that's professional services during the project. So it's really just sharing those experiences with the crowd of developers and funders, and letting them know kind of what we can do and how we can help them out.
And Luke, in terms of the panel, it's focused on trends. Just a little bit about trends in 2020-21. What have you noticed already in the year? Or is it really too early to say significant change? And do we mention the Brexit
it's difficult
word?
to say, but yeah, you can mention it. It's difficult to say. I'd say that there is more competition out there for projects, but I think the trend for this year certainly is going to be security. I think people are going to be a lot more focused on the security of the deal and the security of the exit, and trying to control all of these elements, because it's not a year to be messing about with taking it for what it is and hoping for the best and going, right, it should end up somewhere roughly around here, because there's just absolutely zero guarantee whatsoever at this point. So I think you're going to see people try and do things a lot more securely and in a more structured format. And I think you'll actually see people trying to go out to people to give them advice if they don't know something, which traditionally developers, we're terrible at it. And we think we know best and we plough forward. But I think that will be the change for this year, is you'll see people leaning on people more and looking for a more secure deal, which I don't think is a bad thing, to be honest with you, because I think it will help everyone survive.
I completely agree with that. I mean, I've noticed the security of exit has sort of always been an underlying factor, but in growing markets, it's not so prioritized. But over the last few years, I've noticed that a lot of lenders getting very anxious about any exit products that are over 600k, and they're sort of really reining it in and saying, we'll only fund stuff if it's stock that's selling below 600k, because everything above is sticking. So that exit is just as important as anything else. Completely agree. Well, I think we've pretty much got a wrap, Brendan. I mean, we've discussed what we're discussing. You've been moaning about me for 2 weeks about needing a commercial agent. We've got an ex-commercial agent that now runs projects.
So I just want to say a massive thanks for your time today, Alex, and being on board as one of the exhibitors. I haven't even mentioned the other exhibitors. Delighted that you were one of the first to be involved in the event as well. Look, I'm really, I don't want to take up much more of your time, but delighted to have the team from Sillence Hurn, including David, the other co-founder. Delighted we've got speakers flying in all the way from Ireland for the event as well. So, Jack, any final words? Date is the 7th of March. It's my only one-day event of the year, and then for the rest of the year, I won't take it easy, but it will be just my monthly events rather than a one-day event. And a one-day event encompasses, as Jack said on a number of different videos, different strategies. So it's lovely to have, or great to have yourself on board, Sillence Hurn. Alex, for those people who are thinking, look, we wish we could be there, we need help from you, we can't be there, or we don't want to wait to the 7th of March, how can they reach you? So what's your best contact? Is it the website?
Great closing question, Brendan. Sillencehurn.co.uk. Sillence is SILLENCE. I know Brendan struggles with that, so I'm sure there's other people out there that do. So that my mobile contact details will all be on there. We are on Facebook and LinkedIn as well, so I'm sure you can find
And just one final question. I'm open to Jack asking a final question if there is. Your geographical spread is primarily Hampshire and the southeast. Is that correct, or are you willing to go slightly beyond?
I've been having this discussion a lot at the moment with new inquiries and developers. But I mean, really, if the project is substantial, we would go nationwide. But it depends on the size of the project. But really, it's Birmingham and South for projects around the £1 million and lower mark. To be honest.
And you're open to projects which are not just commercial, but keen on commercial, I would say.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Like I said, both mine and David's background is commercial property, so we feel like we have quite a good knowledge and experience between us in there. So we feel like we can add value in those sectors.
Brilliant. Want to just say thanks. Any final questions, Jack?
No, not just make it on the day. Prepare some questions for Sillence Hurn and test their knowledge on what they can add in terms of advice and value. Alex is actually working on our basement conversion, so bringing his residential conversion prowess to smooth and soften the process, as it were. But I think we've covered off as much as we need to on the video. Otherwise, we won't need to have an event, Brendan.
No, I take that on board. So, massive thanks and thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.